Here's a psychology truth most people don't want to hear. If you love staying at home, it's probably not because you're antisocial, lazy, or afraid of life. It's because your brain works differently. And chances are, you've been misunderstanding yourself for years. While the world keeps telling you that success, happiness, and personal growth only happen out there, something inside you feels calmer, sharper, more alive when everything slows down. That contradiction isn't random, it's psychological. Think about it. Have you ever felt guilty for canceling plans, even when staying home clearly made you feel better the next day? Have you ever wondered why your mental focus improves in quiet, why your mindset feels clearer away from noise, why productivity suddenly clicks when you're alone? Most people ignore these signals. They force themselves into stimulation, hustle, visibility, and slowly lose control of their time management and inner balance. But a few start asking the right question. What if staying in isn't avoidance, but an advantage? Because once you understand what psychology actually says about people who love staying at home, everything reframes. Confidence, discipline, emotional clarity, even how you build relationships and design your week. There are hidden advantages here that no one talks about, not because they're small, but because they challenge the loud version of success we've been sold. And if this topic hit you even a little, stay with me. The last insight connects everything in a way that changes how you see yourself moving forward. For a long time, society has painted people who love staying at home as boring, antisocial, or somehow missing out on life. If you're not always out, visible, busy, and available, something must be wrong. At least that's the story we've been told. Productivity gets confused with noise. Presence gets confused with performance. And suddenly, choosing a quiet night in feels like a failure instead of a decision. That mindset quietly trains people to distrust their own rhythm, even when it supports their self-development and mental focus. But here's the quiet contradiction most people miss. Staying home isn't opting out of life. It's often opting into a different layer of it. A layer where attention isn't fragmented, where time management actually belongs to you, and where your mindset isn't constantly hijacked by external demands. While others confuse movement with progress, these individuals are often processing, reflecting, and integrating life lessons in real time. They're not absent, they're just participating inwardly. This is where the idea of home shifts completely. Home isn't a hiding place, it's a sanctuary. It's the one environment where the nervous system finally exhales, where discipline stops being performative and becomes internal. No social mask, no forced enthusiasm, just authenticity. And that matters more for personal growth than most loud motivational quotes ever will. When the mask drops, clarity shows up. Think about it. The moments you actually felt aligned, grounded, and sharp probably didn't happen in chaos. They happened when you were alone with your thoughts, reading something that challenged your mindset, journaling a hard truth, or simply sitting in silence, letting your brain reorganize itself. That's not weakness. That's foundation work. And once you see home as a place of internal strength instead of escape, the next question becomes unavoidable. Why does your brain crave that space in the first place? What most people never realize is that the preference for staying at home often starts in the nervous system, not in personality labels. Some brains are wired with higher sensitivity to stimulation, noise, crowds, constant interaction, visual overload. For these minds, too much input doesn't equal excitement, it equals fatigue. So the brain quietly learns a survival strategy: reduce stimulation to protect mental focus. This isn't fragility. It's biological intelligence supporting long-term productivity and emotional balance. This is where energy management comes in. Introversion and extroversion aren't about shyness or confidence. They're about where your nervous system recharges. For some people, social interaction drains energy the same way intense workouts drain the body. Home becomes the charger. Silence becomes fuel. And once you understand this, self-development stops feeling like a fight and starts feeling like alignment. Discipline becomes easier when you stop forcing environments that fight your wiring. Psychology calls this the optimal arousal theory. Every brain has a natural sweet spot of stimulation where it performs best. Too little, and you feel bored. Too much, and your system goes into overload. People who love staying at home often sit closer to that optimal zone in low stimulation environments. That's why their thinking gets sharper, their time management improves, and their mindset becomes more deliberate when life slows down. Their brain isn't escaping, it's calibrating. There's also something deeper happening, a rich inner world. When external noise drops, internal presence increases. Thoughts become clearer. Emotions become readable instead of overwhelming. This is where real life lessons get processed, not just experienced. Many people chase meaning externally because they've never learned how to sit with themselves. Others do, and that ability quietly reshapes their personal growth. Which leads to the next layer most people underestimate: what actually grows in solitude when no one is watching. When solitude is intentional, something powerful happens beneath the surface. Creativity stops competing with noise and finally gets space to breathe. Ideas connect, patterns emerge. The brain shifts from reaction mode to integration mode. This is why so many breakthroughs in mindset, productivity, and even life direction happen in quiet moments. Not during stimulation, but during stillness. Solitude isn't empty time, it's high quality cognitive space. Emotionally, solitude allows for deep processing, something modern life rarely permits. Instead of numbing feelings with distraction, the mind actually works through them. That's how emotional intelligence is built. By naming emotions, understanding triggers, and extracting life lessons from experiences instead of rushing past them. A simple example: journaling alone for 10 minutes after a stressful day does more for personal growth than hours of forced positivity. Books like Man's Search for Meaning or Atomic Habits often hit harder in solitude because the mind is receptive. There's also a quiet healing effect most people never talk about. When stimulation drops, the nervous system exits survival mode. Stress hormones decrease. Mental focus stabilizes. This is why clarity often shows up after time alone, not because problems disappear, but because the brain finally has the bandwidth to organize them. Solitude becomes a form of emotional maintenance, the same way sleep repairs the body. Ignore it long enough and performance suffers. The irony is that many people fear solitude because they associate it with loneliness. But the people who benefit most from it experience the opposite. They feel more connected to themselves, more grounded in their decisions, and more disciplined in how they spend their time. This internal stability quietly changes how they show up in the world. And once you understand that, the next distinction becomes critical. Not all alone time is the same. And confusing solitude with loneliness changes everything. Here's a distinction most people never learn, and it changes everything. Loneliness is feeling disconnected even when surrounded by people. Solitude is choosing to be alone without feeling empty. One drains you, the other restores you. The brain reacts very differently to each. Loneliness activates threat systems linked to anxiety and rumination, while solitude, when chosen, strengthens emotional regulation, mental focus, and self-trust. Same silence. Completely different psychological outcome. The key difference isn't the absence of people, it's the presence of choice. When you choose solitude, your nervous system feels safe. When isolation is imposed, the mind interprets it as rejection. That's why learning how to be alone is a skill, not a personality trait. People who master it stop chasing constant validation and start building internal stability. That shift alone upgrades mindset, discipline, and long-term personal growth. Think about emotional maturity this way. Can you sit with yourself without immediately reaching for stimulation? No phone, no noise, no external reassurance, just you. That ability is a quiet form of strength. It means your sense of identity isn't collapsing when attention disappears. In practical terms, it shows up as better time management, clearer decisions, and fewer impulsive choices. The brain stops outsourcing regulation to the environment. This is why solitude becomes a filter. People who are comfortable alone become more intentional about who and what they allow into their lives. They don't fear disconnection, they fear misalignment. And that subtle shift begins to reshape relationships in a very specific way. Once you can stand on your own, the way you connect with others stops being about need and starts being about depth. When someone is comfortable being alone, their relationships change, quietly but permanently. They stop chasing connection for validation and start choosing it for meaning. Instead of many shallow interactions, they invest in fewer, deeper ones. This isn't social withdrawal, it's social precision. The brain learns that quality feeds emotional stability far more than quantity ever could. And that shift alone transforms mindset, emotional intelligence, and long term personal growth. People who value solitude tend to listen more than they perform. They're not rushing to fill silence or impress anyone. Conversations slow down. Words carry weight. This creates a different kind of bond, one built on presence instead of stimulation. In practice, this might look like one long, honest conversation instead of 10 surface level check ins, or choosing a quiet walk with a friend over a loud gathering. That's not antisocial behavior, that's intentional connection. There's also a boundary benefit most people overlook. When you don't need constant interaction, you're less likely to tolerate draining relationships. Time management improves because emotional energy isn't leaking everywhere. Discipline shows up socially too, saying no without guilt, leaving early without apology, protecting your mental focus without explanation. These micro decisions compound into healthier dynamics and stronger self respect. Ironically, this depth makes relationships more resilient. When connection isn't fueled by dependency, it becomes stable. You're not afraid of distance because closeness isn't fragile. And that inner security changes how you show up for others, calmer, clearer, more grounded. Which raises the next tension most people struggle with. If this way of living is so effective, why does society constantly pressure people to abandon it? Modern culture quietly rewards visibility, speed, and constant motion. If you're not busy, not posting, not out there, it can feel like you're falling behind. This is the hustle narrative at work. The idea that productivity equals exhaustion and success equals exposure. Under that pressure, choosing to stay home triggers guilt, even when it supports mental focus, discipline, and real self development. The brain starts confusing rest with laziness, intention with avoidance. What makes this dangerous is how subtle it is. People don't consciously decide to betray their own rhythm, they're nudged into it. Invitations you feel forced to accept. Social energy you don't have but spend anyway. Nights out that cost you clarity the next day. Over time, this erodes time management and emotional regulation. You're technically living, but internally fragmented. Psychology is clear on this. Chronic misalignment drains performance faster than hard work ever will. Resisting this pressure isn't about isolation, it's about self respect. It means honoring the pace where your mindset actually performs best. Some people need stimulation to feel alive, others need space to think clearly. Neither is superior, but pretending to be someone you're not is expensive. A simple practice? Start treating your energy like a budget. One social commitment in, one quiet night protected. Balance isn't passive, it's disciplined. The moment guilt fades, something unexpected happens. Peace shows up, not the boring kind, the grounded kind, the kind that sharpens decisions and stabilizes emotions. And once you stop apologizing for your rhythm, a deeper shift begins internally. You don't just accept your preferences, you integrate them into your identity. Which brings us to the final layer of this psychology, what it really means to feel at home with yourself. At some point, real growth stops being about fixing yourself and starts being about understanding yourself. Self-acceptance isn't resignation, it's clarity. It's recognizing that peace is a valid operating system, not a weakness. People who love staying at home often reach this realization earlier. Their nervous system functions better in calm, their mindset sharpens in silence, and their discipline strengthens when life slows down. That's not avoidance, that's alignment. This is where home stops being a physical location and becomes a mental state. A place where the brain feels safe enough to think clearly, make better decisions, and extract real-life lessons from experience. You can be anywhere in the world and still feel internally displaced, or be in one quiet room and feel grounded. That internal sense of belonging is what fuels long-term personal growth and sustainable productivity. Without it, progress always feels forced. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop judging your preferences and start designing around them. You schedule your week with intention. You protect mornings. You limit unnecessary stimulation. You read instead of scroll. Books that sharpen thinking like deep work or thinking fast and slow. This isn't about becoming less ambitious, it's about becoming precise. Precision beats pressure every time when learning how to live better. And here's the quiet truth most people never articulate. People who are at home with themselves don't need to escape their own lives. They don't chase noise to feel alive. Their strength comes from internal coherence, a rare form of confidence that doesn't announce itself. That coherence is built, not discovered. And understanding how to protect it, especially in a digitally overstimulated world, opens a door most minds haven't walked through yet. So let's be clear about one thing. You're not running away from life. You're choosing how to live it. In a world addicted to noise, choosing quiet is an act of courage. Choosing intention over constant stimulation is a form of discipline. And choosing to stay home when it aligns with your nervous system, your mindset, and your mental focus is not withdrawal. It's design. Real personal growth doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what actually works for you. Now the responsibility is yours. What are you going to do with this awareness? Are you going to keep apologizing for your rhythm, or are you finally going to honor it? How would your productivity, your time management, and your emotional stability change if you stopped fighting your nature and started building around it? Ask yourself honestly, where have you been forcing noise into your life when what you really needed was clarity? Awareness is the wake-up call. Application is the upgrade, and remember this. Quiet isn't passive, it's powerful. Stillness sharpens judgment, solitude strengthens identity, and being at home with yourself is one of the rarest advantages in a distracted world. If this message resonated, commit to one change this week. Protect one quiet night, cut one unnecessary stimulation, design one intentional block of time just for thinking. That's how people stop drifting and start learning how to live better. Stay quiet, stay sharp, stay in progress. If this video helped you see your lifestyle differently, subscribe to Mind in Progress and turn on notifications. Every video here is built to help you upgrade your mind, one idea at a time. And don't stop here. Understanding calm is step one, but learning how to use it is step two. That's why you should watch the video on your screen now. Be so calm it makes people nervous. I tested this for 30 days. It changed everything. This one shows exactly how to turn inner calm into unshakable discipline and control, and it connects perfectly with what you just learned.